Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. This is not just any edition, this is the 2026 NFL edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the key on millions.co. Here is my profile. You see it as the key. Here is my media feed. Here is my merchandise. We also have a brand new logo. So this is a part of our rebrand. And let's get to the point at hand. Let's get to the topic at hand. It is the NFL draft. So what I am going to do, I am going to go through a list of each individual team in the NFL, their list of needs from quarterback to the offensive lineman. And the first team that is on the list is the Las Vegas Raiders. Now the Las Vegas Raiders, as far as their list of needs, they need a quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback, defensive lineman, inside offensive lineman, running back, and an offensive tackle. But first, what I'm going to do is the first round projections. And with everybody, they know with the first round, they have a mock draft. And in these mock draft projections, the first pick is none other than everybody who's projected this guy to go first, Fernando Mendoza. Las Vegas is ushering in a new era with Coach Clint Kubiak and second-year general manager John Speck. There's no better way to do that than by taking the Heisman Trophy winner who can solidify the future of the quarterback position. Mendoza's accuracy and decision making will mesh on his team, and Mendoza is fresh off leading Indiana to the national championship. Time will tell whether Mendoza will be the week one starter or if that role will go to Kirk Cousins. One thing is certain, the Raiders will have a short and long-term answer at quarterback, something they haven't had in quite some time. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. Let's see what the Las Vegas Raiders 2026 NFL schedule, let's see what that's about first. Before we start talking about, okay, Fernando Mendoza will be starting this week or that week, let's see what the Raiders can do outside of Fernando Mendoza. Because I've been looking at Fernando Mendoza since his Cal days. And yes, I said Cal days. He wasn't on the microscope when he was at Cal. See, I know a lot of people, I know a lot of my colleagues, they didn't look at Fernando Mendoza when he was at Cal. But I looked at him when he was at Cal before all of the success with Indiana. See, everybody think that Fernando Mendoza just came out of nowhere when he was at Indiana. But Cal, he had a great completion percentage. Now he didn't have the team that he had at Indiana, but obviously, let's talk about his accuracy. So in 12 of in well, not 12, but in basically every game last season for the Indiana Hoosiers, Fernando Mendoza's completion percentage, he averaged 79% completion percentage. Where have you ever heard that at now? Although he didn't have many pass attempts, because one game he had 20 pass attempts. The sixth game of the season, he had 25 pass attempts. The highest game where he had the most pass attempts was only 29. So we really can't say that Fernando Mendoza can just will a team to victory yet, because he had a complimentary run game at Indiana. But with the Raiders, he not going to have a complimentary run game. And better yet, he may not even start week one, because they did just get Kirk Cousins. And let me tell y'all something, Kirk Cousins' agent, he is one of the best agents in the NFL, because he got Kirk Cousins 5 years and $240 million. Where have you heard that from? And Kirk Cousins, he not really no big time quarterback. And he getting these contracts like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. Really? Jalen Hurts, he ain't even got a big time contract like that. What? Kirk Cousins, a career backup? He got that contract? I don't know what's going on in Vegas, but that old phrase, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, not no more. Not no more. We got a whole lot of stuff we got to talk about with Vegas, and they can't just keep it in Vegas now because it's on the NFL spectrum. But that's who the Raiders are going to. That's the projected pick. The Raiders, they are going to pick Fernando Mendoza with the top pick. That is the projection. The next team that I am going to cover is the New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets list of needs are quarterback, cornerback, safety, linebacker, inside offensive lineman, wide receiver, defensive lineman, and edge rusher. Wow. Well, like I said, New York Jets, they are, I'm going to say, a poverty franchise, and they are in downright purgatory right now. And the level of impetulance that the New York Jets organization have, led by Woody Johnson and all the way down to the head coach, is bad up there in New York. And we know that New York is the biggest sports media market in the world. But they really can't say they really can't say that when it comes to the New York Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, last time New York Jets had a winning season, I was a baby. It was 2002. I was 1 year old. Now I am 25 years old. And the Jets, one thing that's consistent about the Jets is they have a losing record. They will have a losing season. And the last time the Jets made it to the playoffs was 2010. I was in elementary school then. And for the last 50 years, the Jets, they've only been to the AFC Championship twice in the last 50 years. So what can the Jets do in order to be relevant and respectable in everybody's eyes? Because I can't even bring myself to interview one of the players that's on the Jets, because it's like the Jets, they don't have the right organization. You can't talk about winning with the Jets. You can't talk about getting to the playoffs with the Jets. That's why I say when it comes to the Jets, we don't know what we gonna see with the Jets. Man, let me tell y'all something. The years of Broadway Joe, that's the only time I can think the Jets were a formidable opponent. Because Joe Namath, he pretty much had the New York Jets, and he pretty much made the New York Jets in his own image. But the New York Jets, they ain't done nothing in over 30 years. They ain't done nothing in over 30 years. And now I'd already gave y'all the list of needs. Now here is their projected player that they are going to take in the first round. David Bailey, edge rusher, Texas Tech. The Jets spent most of their free agent money on their defense, but they still need a dynamic presence in the front seven. Bailey, with 14 and a half sacks last season, can be that player. Averill Reese will draw strong consideration because of his talentizing potential, but Bailey gets the edge, no pun intended, because he's more pro ready. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Averill Reese, he is not going to the Jets. He can't go to the Jets because you cannot waste good potential like that. And the New York Jets, they have wasted players' potential over the years. They've wasted potential over the years, and I hope that they don't waste the potential of this phenom right here. Because I saw David Bailey when he was at Texas Tech last season, and especially in the playoffs. He did great. Now, one thing that I want to say about Averill Reese, He is also a good player, and I'm going to talk about him in the next. Well, I'm going to talk about him a little bit later on in a few seconds because I know that he is high up on everybody's list. But as of right now, New York Jets, they spending all of this money on defense, America. The New York Jets, they do not need to keep spending money on their defense. You need to get you some offensive players. You need to get your wide receiver, tight end, offensive lineman. You might need to get your quarterback because obviously Geno Smith, we don't know what he gonna do. And on top of that, the backup quarterback, Justin Fields, he is in Kansas City now. So you really don't have no backup quarterback and no fallback plan. If you are the New York Jets, just keep on watching. Just keep on watching. And when it comes to the New York Jets, we have to give them a space of grace because it's been 50 years of purgatory, 50 years of impetulance, and 50 years of downright losing credibility when it comes to a sports franchise. The list of worst sports franchises in all of Northern America, the New York Jets are one of the top 10 worst sports franchises in America right now, and not just right now. Over the past 25 years, since the new millennium, America, since the new millennium, and that's from 2000 to 2026. But enough about me talking about the New York Jets because I cannot talk about a losing team because we talk about winners on this show over here. So obviously the next team is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. Let's talk about their list of needs. Arizona Cardinals list of needs are a quarterback, offensive tackle, inside offensive lineman, running back, linebacker, safety, and defensive lineman. Now, one thing, first round projection for the Arizona Cardinals is Averill Reese, edge rusher for Ohio State. The Cardinals have no other needs that they can address. They do have a whole lot more needs they can address because they need a quarterback. First order of business for the Arizona Cardinals, they need a quarterback. Forget about the defense right now. The Cardinals have other needs they can address. But with so much uncertainty about the future of the quarterback position, Reese makes sense because of his ability to be not only an impact player, but someone who can transition to the NFL seamlessly. He'll be joining a crowded pass rushing group, so decisions will have to be made, but pairing Reese with Josh Sweat up front could give Arizona a potent 1-2 punch up front. That's good, but you need somebody to help out Marvin Harrison Jr. Because over the last 4 years, when I think of the Arizona Cardinals wide receiver core, outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm lost. And to the American public, I know when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals wide receiver core, we are all lost outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. We are. Kyler Murray, he gone. He is in the Twin Cities. The Great Lakes when it comes to Minnesota. He's in Minneapolis now. So you got Jacoby Brissett, but reportedly nobody is very high and confident on Jacoby Brissett. Arizona Cardinals, I would not be surprised if they go and get a quarterback first before they get an edge rusher, but you can't go wrong with Averill Reese. You can't go wrong because I seen him at Ohio State. The guy, he's on the ball with everything, and there isn't a set or a system that he doesn't know. There isn't a set of system that he doesn't know. So hopefully the Arizona Cardinals can make the right decision tonight because this is round 1 of the draft, and you only get one time to make a first impression. The next team I am going to cover is the Tennessee Titans. Let's talk about their list of needs. The list of needs for the Tennessee Titans are inside offensive lineman, linebacker, edge rusher, cornerback, safety, wide receiver, and running back. So, projection is linebacker, Sonny Styles from Ohio State. Middle linebacker is a premium position for Robert Saleh's defense, as we all know. Fred Warner, when he was with the when Robert Saleh was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, Fred Warner was the centerpiece. Now Saleh gets a player often compared to 49ers linebacker Fred Warner, who ascended under Saleh to become one of the league's top defensive players. Styles, a converted safety, has traits to be the middle of the field and clog passing lanes. Adding a defender might not seem as if helps Cam Ward, but improving a defense that gave up 28 points last season will take some pressure off of the young quarterback. Now, what I can say is Tennessee Titans, you already have your cornerstone quarterback for the future in Cam Ward. You got to get them some wide receivers around there. You got to get some good offensive linemen because Calvin Ridley, he only has, I would say, 3 years left in the NFL. Only has 3 years left. And the Tennessee Titans ownership, I don't know what's going on with their ownership, but it seems like that they are having trouble making the hard-hitting decisions that need to be made when it comes to getting a reliable wide receiver option when it comes to Cam Ward. And I'm not even, you got to get Tennessee Titans, you got to get you a running back too. You got to get you a running back. If not one running back, you got to get you 2 running backs. Because it's good to have 2 running backs rather than just one. Because in today's NFL, you can't just have a bell cow running back anymore. You got to have a bell cow running back and you got to have a running back that's out there strictly for third downs and short yardage situations. So that's all I got to say about the Tennessee Titans. Now for the New York Giants. Their list of needs are defensive lineman, cornerback, inside offensive lineman, wide receiver, safety, running back, and linebacker. Now, one thing about the New York Jets is when it comes to, not the New York Jets, but the New York Giants is quarterback position. We already know that Josh Dart is there. And one thing about the New York Giants, I believe that New York Giants, they'll be in playoff contention this coming season. I'm going to just go ahead and say it because they have Jim Harbaugh. He has a blueprint. He's taking that blueprint and he is updating his blueprint because now you have to evolve in everything you do, in every business that you are in. You have to evolve with the times and you got to evolve with the market. You got to evolve with customer and supply and demand. That's what the New York Giants have to do. So with this projection of Jeremiah Love being the running back, they really didn't have a bell cow running back last year. It was just running back by committee. Jeremiah Love, he's still available. That is what the Giants are thinking. If Love is still on the board, perhaps the top player in this entire draft being there for the 5th pick, this is an opportunity new coach John Harbaugh can't pass up. The idea of a versatile playmaker who can create mismatches with opposing defenses is enticing. It's why General Manager Joe Shane recently said Love is more than a running back. He's an offensive weapon. The Giants need more of those. Now, Joe Shane, when it comes to him, he has done he hasn't had the best of luck in previous drafts. He hasn't. So hopefully Joe Shane can some way, somehow make a good decision because reportedly Joe Shane it isn't fitting the bill for the people up there in Big Apple, in the Big Apple. When it comes to the New York Giants are one of those old-fashioned franchises where they hang their head on defense and they just need a consistent, decent offense. But Joe Shane, he hasn't been able or he hasn't thought about putting the right type of players, offensive players on the field. That way the that way the New York Giants offense can be better than some of these other teams. But that's just me. I'm a spectator. I'm a journalist. And what do I know? The New York Jets, they got their hands full because they have so many needs that they need to take care of in this draft. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to take care of all of them this weekend. I'm not sure. But the next team I'm going to cover, the Cleveland Browns. Now, Cleveland Browns, list of needs: offensive tackle, wide receiver. I see a lot of people talking about quarterback, but I don't know if the Browns really need a quarterback. If I was to ask my audience or just ask random football people, they'll probably say the Browns don't need a quarterback. So I'm a little bit skeptical of their quarterback when it comes to it being a need because you already have two quarterbacks and then offensive linemen. You have a cornerback. You need a tight end. You need a running back, safety, and a linebacker. And in the first round, the Browns are projected to get an offensive tackle, Francis Mugoa. He was the offensive tackle at Miami. With two first rounders, the Browns could add a tackle or wide receiver here. The natural left tackle option might be too rich, and similar argument could be made for a wide receiver. A trade back would be ideal. Mugoa plays right tackle, but GM Andrew Berry said he wouldn't typecast tackle prospects by their college position. He also named newly acquired veteran Titus Howard as an option to play left tackle, which could make this pairing work. Hey, do the Browns have a sense of direction all of a sudden? Because the Browns, for years, the Browns, they have been trying to build a blueprint. Now we already know that they already have Shador and Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. So quarterback position is pretty much set for this season coming up. Now as for the future, we can't really trust the Browns organization and front office because the Browns organization, they have made head scratching decisions and moves over the past 15 years. I'm gonna just say 15 years. I'm not going to go all the way back to the 70s and 80s because there was no draft back then. There was no draft back then, and players, they could pretty much move from team to team all willy-nilly. But now, Cleveland Browns, they may have a sense of direction. The next team I'm going to cover is the Washington Commanders. List of needs for the Washington Commanders are running back, wide receiver, offensive lineman, tight end, linebacker, safety, cornerback, and edge rusher. The projections for their first round talent is cornerback from LSU, Mansour Delane. The Commanders added plenty of help on defense in free agency, particularly in the front. But to help the pass rush, they need stronger corner play. Last season, they ranked 31st in yards per pass attempt, 7.6, as well as in opposing QBR, 52.9. Delane's versatility, he can play man or zone, would allow new coordinator Durante Jones or better disguise to better disguise coverages. I mean, Washington Commanders offense led by Jaden Daniels, we already know that the Washington Commanders offense, they are not going to miss a beat when you have Jaden Daniels coming back 100%. Now you need a great defense. You can't have a 31st ranked defense and try and think that you are going to make it to the playoffs, because you're not going to make it to the playoffs. So, Washington Commanders, they have their list of needs. If they go ahead and get this guy from LSU, defensively, he is going to improve the defense better than what it was last year, because they have nowhere to go but up. Nowhere to go but up. The New Orleans Saints, the next team I'm going to cover is the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints list of needs are wide receiver, edge rusher, linebacker, defensive lineman, cornerback, safety, and tight end. The first projection for the New Orleans Saints is wide receiver Carnell Tate. This is just the projection. There are a few position groups the Saints could consider reinforcing at number 8, but wide receiver is a big priority after they didn't sign a top pass catcher in free agency. With 4 defensive players gone in the first 7 picks, this board fell in a way that allows the Saints to take arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL draft. This selection would give second-year quarterback Tyler Shaw an immediate upgrade to an offense that lacked wide receiver depth at the end of last season. Carnell Tate, he was very, very good at Ohio State. He had over 800 yards last season. The season before that, he also averaged 800 yards. So he is consistent in his yardage per play. So if the Saints need to identify a problem, Carnell Tate is your solution at wide receiver. Now it's just up to the Saints if they are going to take Carnell Tate in the first round. And like I said, Carnell Tate, he is going to be the first wide receiver off the board. And I already see that. And that is not confidential information. We all see it. He is going to be the first wide receiver off of the board tonight. Now, the next team I'm going to cover, and they are pretty high on the list. We usually don't see this team high on the list. The Kansas City Chiefs. It's been a while since the Kansas City Chiefs has been high on a draft list. Now let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs, their list of needs. List of needs for the Kansas City Chiefs are cornerback, offensive tackle, safety, defensive lineman, running back, edge rusher, wide receiver, and tight end. Now, Travis Kelce, he's back on a 3-year deal. But let's start the Kansas City Chiefs. They got to build for the future when it comes to that tight end position. Wide receiver, I'm not totally sure if the Chiefs need another wide receiver, because you got Rashee Rice, you got Marquise Hollywood Brown, you got Xavier Worthy. You got 3 wide receivers right there. I'm not sure if the Chiefs need another wide receiver. But these so-called experts, they put wide receiver on Kansas City's draft board. For some reason, I don't know. But the first projection for the Kansas City Chiefs tonight could be Ruben Bain Jr., edge rusher, coming out of Miami. The previous 8 picks are all reasonable, leaving the Chiefs with the best pass rusher still available in Bain. The Chiefs need a new starter on the opposite side of George Karlaftis, and Bain has the talent to quickly develop in such a role for coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. Another reason the Chiefs should covet Bain is that he will be in support of Chris Jones, who had the burden last season of trying to uplift the pass rush despite often facing 2 interior linemen. You can't double Chris Jones and Reuben Bain Jr. and George Karlaftis. You can't do that. So this is a match made in heaven for the Kansas City Chiefs. If Reuben Bain, if they do pick Reuben Bain. Now these are just projections. These are not picks that are set in stone just yet. For the next team, the New York Giants. They have the number 10th pick via Cincinnati. Let's go back to their list of needs coming on down. Their list of needs is defensive lineman, cornerback, inside offensive lineman, wide receiver, safety, running back, and linebacker. And the projection is Caleb Downs. He was at Ohio State. Shutdown corner, had 5 interceptions at Ohio State. This is another one where the Giants are just pinching themselves that Downs is still available. Here, he's one of the best defensive players and safest prospects in this draft. The Ohio State standout can be the Kyle Hamilton or Ed Reed for Harbaugh. He might not fit the same physical profile as Hamilton, 6'4", 220, but there is nothing that Downs, 5'11", 206 can't do well. So, one thing, New York Giants, they do need a safety. Caleb Downs is on the board, and I don't think that they are going to pass up on Caleb Downs. The next team that I'm going to cover is the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins list of needs. Let's see. Miami Dolphins list of needs are wide receiver, cornerback, safety, tight end, inside offensive lineman, edge rusher, defensive lineman, and linebacker. So now, once we get to the Miami Dolphins, projected first-round pick Spencer Fano, offensive lineman for Utah. There's a growing belief across the league that the Dolphins will address the trenches with the number 11th pick, and with general manager John Eric Sullivan proclaiming Miami's interest in versatile offensive lineman, Fano fits the description. He can play right tackle or guard, and the Dolphins probably would need him to man the guard spot for at least a year. Usually starting right tackle Austin Jackson is in the final year of his contract and has struggled to stay healthy. Fano provides a succession plan if Miami decides to move on. Now, if Miami Dolphins offensive lineman has been Miami Dolphins offensive line has been one of the worst in the past 7 or 8 years. Miami Dolphins, they have been average to below average the past few years. And for the Miami Dolphins, they're in a crowded division. You have the Patriots that you have to focus on. You have the Buffalo Bills. We all know that they are not going to drop. Josh Allen is still going to have the Buffalo Bills in the thick of things. You have the New York Jets. I already talked about New York Jets. Seem like it's just they in purgatory. And then you have the Miami Dolphins. What can the Miami Dolphins do? Are they going to improve, or are the Miami Dolphins going to regress? So that's all. The next team that I'm going to cover, my favorite team, them Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? And we do need a wide receiver, but there's so much more that the Dallas Cowboys need. Let me get down to my team because we need a cornerback, safety, linebacker, running back, edge rusher, wide receiver, and defensive lineman. Our first projected player is Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. If things start to fall in this way, I would look for the Cowboys to move inside the top 10 and make sure they get one of the premier defensive players with a trade. But if they remain at 12, Tyson becomes an interesting name to watch. What about George Pickens? Now, George Pickens, he is still having a contract dispute with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, please, please, please help us as a fan base and pay George Pickens. If you can't pay George Pickens, please, Jerry Jones, I am putting in my verbal application. Reach out to me because I can help the Dallas Cowboys get to the promised land. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan. We want to get back to the promised land, Jerry Jones. We want to get back to the promised land, Mr. Jones. It's been 30 years. It's been 30 years since we saw a Super Bowl trophy in our arms. And we are tired of dusting off the trophy case every April and every September. Those 5 Super Bowls, yes, we had those 5 Super Bowls. We love them, we cherish them, and we like to look at them from time to time. But we need to do something in the 21st century. We need to do something in the 2020s. We need to do something for the future, the 2030s, 2040s, 2050s. Because if we can't do something, then all of a sudden, we are just a blast from the past. And the Dallas Cowboys, they are not a blast from the past. The Dallas Cowboys is the one team in America when it comes to football, whether it's college or pro, they always dominate the TV ratings. So, Mr. Jones, my verbal application, please reach out to me, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, or you can even reach out to me through email because I would like to help out my Dallas Cowboys so we can put a winner on the field and not just a winner in our pockets. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. Pockets, when it comes to the Cowboys, are deep. They are worth $15 billion. Well, last time, reportedly speaking, last time the Dallas Cowboys were worth reported $13 billion, but I know it's 15 or 16 right now. And it's just going to keep going up. That's all. So all the Cowboys are guaranteed with Pickens at the moment is one more. This does nothing to solve the defensive issues, but it does make the offense more explosive for Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, he's a good quarterback. He's a decent quarterback. Now he does have, his playoff struggles and everything like that. But Dallas Cowboy, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. We got to focus on that defense. Cause we allowed almost 40 points a game last season. We allowed almost 500 yards every game. We allowed almost, in a 3-game span, we allowed almost 1,500 yards. Well, almost 2,000 yards in a 3-game span. And we got a new defensive coordinator. So I'm okay with getting another wide receiver. But Jerry Jones and everybody else in the Cowboys organization, we have got to emphasize defense in this draft. We do. The next team I'm going to cover is the LA Rams. They have this draft pick via Atlanta Falcons. Now, the list of needs for the Rams are offensive tackle, wide receiver, defensive lineman, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. Now, projection for Los Angeles Rams is Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver from USC. The Rams don't know how much longer quarterback Matthew Stafford will play, so they're focused on making the most of however long it might be. By drafting Lemon, the Rams add a third wide receiver behind Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Adams has only one season left on his contract, so by taking a receiver at number 13, the Rams are also preparing for the future. Mekhi Lemon, he had over 700 yards receiving last season for USC. He's a decent wide receiver. So this is pretty much a good projection pick for the Rams. I'm going to move on to the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens list of needs. Let's see what the Baltimore Ravens have in store. Defensive lineman, inside offensive lineman, wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback, edge rusher, and running back. Projection for the Baltimore Ravens is Olanjiva Olone, guard, Penn State. With Baltimore looking to improve pass protection for Lamar Jackson, this decision was a no-brainer. The Ravens select the best interior lineman in this year's draft in Olone, who didn't give up a sack in the past 2 seasons. This would mark the first time the Ravens have drafted a guard in the top half of the first round. But Baltimore needs to make this type of investment after last season when Jackson faced a pressure rate of 37.1%, the second worst in the league in 2025. Now, a guard that hasn't given up a sack in 2 seasons? Hey, Baltimore, you know what you have to do. You have to draft this guy. You have to. The next team I'm going to cover is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. List of needs. They do need a wide receiver, I can tell you that much. So, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, inside offensive lineman, edge rusher, linebacker, defensive lineman, tight end, wide receiver, and cornerback. Projection for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is edge rusher Akeem Mezzador from Miami. The Bucs haven't had an edge rusher with double-digit sacks since Shaquille Barrett in 2021. General Manager Jason Litt has been very open about this being a position they had not had great success in drafting. Mezzador gives them production. They've needed 12.5 sacks, 17.5 tackles for a loss, and 4 forced fumbles in his final college season. And the coach Todd Bowles indicated he would not have a problem selecting a player who is 25 years old. One thing about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are going to drop. Tampa Bay is going to drop. I believe Atlanta is going to be a better team than Tampa Bay. I believe the Saints are going to be a better team than Tampa Bay. I believe Carolina is going to be a better team than Tampa Bay. So, is Tampa Bay going to be at the basement of the NFC South? Worst division in the NFL. So, who really cares about who makes it out of the NFC South? Nobody. And I do mean nobody. The next team I am going to cover is the New York Jets. This is the 16th pick via Indianapolis. Let's look at the New York Jets list of needs. The list of needs for the New York Jets is quarterback, cornerback, safety, linebacker, inside O-line, wide receiver, defensive lineman, and edge rusher. let's see the projection for their 16th pick. Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver, Indiana. Garrett Wilson needs a running mate. Yes, he does, at receiver. So the Jets can grab one of Mendoza's top options at Indiana. Cooper's run after the catch will help an offense that lacked explosive plays last season. Don't be surprised if the Jets trade up for one of the other wide receivers as well. New York Jets, please, please, please do not mess up the talent of Omar Cooper Jr. Please don't do that, because the Jets, like I said earlier on in this show, in this draft preview, the New York Jets is where careers go to die. I hate to say it, but it could be the New York Jets or it could be the Arizona Cardinals. Those are where careers go to die. So, and I know the New York Jets, they are trying to be on a proper trajectory up. But as from what we've seen in the past, New York Jets, they've had trouble. So, New York Jets, do the right thing. The next team I'm going to cover is the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, they are going to drop. They are. Let's look at the Detroit Lions list of needs. List of needs for the Detroit Lions are offensive tackle, inside offensive lineman, edge rusher, defensive lineman, linebacker, and cornerback. Let's see the projection for the first round. Projection for first round for the Detroit Lions. Offensive tackle, Monroe Freeling, Georgia. The Lions' offensive line certainly wasn't up to par last season, as it had the second worst pass block rate, 56%. Detroit is considering moving All-Pro Penny Swell from right tackle to left, but could certainly benefit from adding another elite prospect on the offensive line. Freeland, who has a prototypical frame for an offensive tackle at 7'6", 315 pounds, could improve the pass rush, the pass protection around quarterback Jared Goff. Freeling's experience at Georgia was primarily at left tackle. Now with the Detroit Lions, they do need a tackle, offensive tackle, and this is a great pick. This is a great projection pick. I have no problem with it. Minnesota Vikings. Let's look at their list of needs. Minnesota Vikings list of needs are linebacker, cornerback, safety, defensive lineman, wide receiver, quarterback, edge rusher, and tight end. First round projections for the Minnesota Vikings are Dylan Thieneman, and that is safety, Oregon. The Vikings haven't given up on the return of longtime starter Harrison Smith, who is contemplating retirement. But Smith is off the roster for now, and in any case, Thieneman is too good and versatile for a prospect to pass over. Interim general manager Rob Brzezinski has made it clear that he won't overthink draft decisions. That's good when you have a general manager that don't overthink draft decisions. This one is obvious to many. The Vikings, they need a legit safety. They need a legit defensive lineman. They need a good edge rusher. The Minnesota Vikings, they need everything that there is when it comes to a team. Because they don't have a good quarterback. Now, Kyler Murray, he did come. Kyler Murray, he just came from the Arizona Cardinals, but we don't know how good he is going to be. So, Minnesota Vikings, do what you need to do. Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers list of needs. Let's look at the Carolina Panthers list of needs right now. Linebacker, safety, defensive lineman, cornerback, wide receiver, running back, inside offensive lineman, and projection for first round for the Carolina Panthers is Kenyon Saquil. Tight end, Oregon. The best safeties in the draft were gone. They are expected to be gone at this point. So Carolina gets the elite tight end it hasn't had since Greg Olsen almost a decade ago. This gives quarterback Bryce Young another option to make to take his game to the next level, the way drafting wide receiver Terry Tioa McMillan helped last year. I think this is a good pick. This is one of the picks that it's just bound to happen. It is. It's just bound to happen. And I would be surprised if the Panthers picked up somebody different. The next team, the Dallas Cowboys, is back on the board, everybody. My team is back on the board. Dallas Cowboys, they have the pick via Green Bay. Let's look at our needs for this season. The needs for the Dallas Cowboys is cornerback, safety, linebacker, running back, edge rusher, wide receiver, and defensive lineman. Let's see the projection for the Dallas Cowboys. Colton Hood, cornerback, Tennessee. Now this is just projection pick. Hood was only a full-time starter for 1 year, but it was a highly productive year. At his third school in 3 years, it came against top-notch competition. Now defensive coordinator Christian Parker has had success with high picks such as Pat Surtain II, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean. Hood has some growing to do, but the upside is there. Hey, we need a cornerback. Dallas Cowboys need a cornerback, but also a cornerback that can get interceptions. We need interception. We like interceptions. So, Dallas, go on ahead and draft this guy. The next team that I'm going to cover is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, who do they need? Pittsburgh needs, list of needs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Quarterback, safety, linebacker, cornerback, wide receiver, running back, offensive tackle. Now, let's look at the projections for the Steelers. KC Conception for a wide receiver from Texas A&M. After reinforcing the trenches in the 3 consecutive drafts, the Steelers add a skilled position player, though the team already has a bona fide number 2 receiver behind DK Metcalf. By trading for Michael Pittman Jr. in March, the position still needs depth. Conception also adds versatility with a speedy skill set that complements Metcalf and Pittman. Coach Mike McCarthy says he values wide receivers who can do more than one thing, and Conception prowess as a dynamic returner checks that box. KC Conception, hey, this is what the Steelers need. They need 3 dynamic wide receivers. 3 dynamic wide receivers, and could this be a new form of the Killer Bees? Hey, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. I know this is the first round of the draft. This is day 1 of the draft. But, hey, look. A journalist can dream. A journalist can dream. The next team I am going to cover is the Los Angeles Chargers. List of needs for the Los Angeles Chargers are inside offensive lineman, defensive lineman, inside offensive lineman, defensive lineman, edge rusher, linebacker, cornerback, safety, and wide receiver. The first round projection for the Los Angeles Chargers is Jermon McCoy. Cornerback, Tennessee, general manager Joe Hortis, and first year defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary would be jumping for joy if the draft played out this way. A right ACL tear would probably be the reason for McCoy dropping to 22. He is still one of the best players in this year's draft. Cornerback isn't one of the Chargers' top needs, but he is the kind of talent LA wouldn't just pass on despite having holes elsewhere. Last season, he recorded 4 interceptions, 7 passing defense, and 44 tackles for the Volunteers. Now, Chargers, they do need help on defense. Chargers, they need help on their offensive line badly because Justin Herbert, he has no time to set up. He has no time to just he has no time to stay in the pocket. It was so many times last season where Justin Herbert, after about 3 seconds, somebody already on. And it didn't even take 3 seconds. He took just 2 steps back. Somebody's already on. So the Chargers, they need help on that as far as their offensive line immediately. The next team I'm going to cover is the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's look at the needs for the Philadelphia Eagles. List of needs for the Philadelphia Eagles are safety, edge rusher, tight end, cornerback, wide receiver, inside offensive lineman. Now, one thing when it comes to the projections for the Philadelphia Eagles, Denzel Boston, wide receiver, Washington, with trade winds swirling around A.J. Brown all season, the Eagles are likely to move on, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, from one of the greatest wide receivers in franchise history. They have done some work to account for his potential departure by signing Hollywood Brown and Elijah Moore to one-year deals before trading with the Green Bay Packers for Dontavian Wicks. But General Manager Howie Roseman will not be shy about adding more playmakers to complement Devontae Smith if the draft board value lines up. Now, we all know that Howie Roseman, he is one of the best general managers in all of the NFL. He's always focusing on how to better the team, how to improve the team. Now, this pick, I believe this pick is going to happen because A.J. Brown, he's already on his way to New England he's already on his way to New England after June 1st. And regarding a physical, this all wages on a physical. But even though I believe, even without a physical, he's still going to the Patriots. So that's what I see. The Cleveland Browns, they have this pick via the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Also, let's look at the Cleveland Browns list of needs. Offensive tackle, wide receiver, quarterback, inside offensive lineman, cornerback, tight end, running back, safety, linebacker. So for the Browns, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety Toledo, a late run on wide receivers leaves the Browns empty-handed in round one. So the pivot to McNeil Warren, a playmaking safety. Cleveland has used 3 safety lineups at a high rate, so McNeil Warren could slot immediately into a interchangeable and versatile role alongside Grant Delpit and Ronnie Hickman, neither of whom is signed past the 2026 season. So Cleveland Browns, building for the future. Do they have a blueprint? It remains to be seen. The next team I am going to cover, Chicago Bears. Let's look at the Chicago Bears list of needs. Defensive lineman, safety, offensive tackle, cornerback, edge rusher, inside offensive lineman, wide receiver. Here is their projected pick. Caden Proctor, offensive tackle, Alabama. The fact that Proctor will still be available at 25 settled the debate of drafting an offensive lineman over a pass rusher. Chicago had the best pass blocking unit last season, but there's uncertainty at left tackle because of Ozzy Trapilo's knee injury. Despite being a rookie, Proctor would shoot to the top of the list of options to start day one. And whenever Trapilo is able to return, the Bears would have the option to move Proctor inside to guard. Caden Proctor to the Chicago Bears. I see this pick happening because we all know that the Bears they have problems with their left tackle. So Caden Proctor is pretty much Mr. Reliable. He didn't have many injuries when he was with college at Alabama, and I expect for him to have a long career. Now, for the Buffalo Bills, let's look at the Buffalo Bills list of needs. Buffalo Bills list of needs is inside offensive lineman, edge rusher, safety, linebacker, cornerback, wide receiver, and offensive tackle. The projections is Cassius Howell, edge rusher. Texas A&M Howell represents a pass rusher for the future under new coordinator Jim Leonhard. Though his short arm length is a concern at 30 quarter inches, Howell brings the speed 14.52 miles per hour while running the corner in a pass rush drill at the combine, the fastest pass rush speed by any DL prospect since Will Anderson Jr., 14.9 miles per hour in 2023. Per NFL Next Gen Stats, the only hiccup is if the Bills decide to trade back here given the lack of second round pick. So, Buffalo Bills defense, they do need another edge rusher, so this pick is a no-brainer. San Francisco 49ers, let's see their list of needs. The list of needs for the San Francisco 49ers are edge rusher, defensive lineman, wide receiver, inside offensive lineman, offensive tackle, linebacker, linebacker, cornerback, and tight end. When it comes to the 49ers, offensive tackle Caleb Lumu, Utah. With the run on wide receivers and safeties, the 49ers probably would trade down in this scenario if they make a pick here. Offensively, offensive line and an edge rusher makes the most sense. In a close call, Lumu gets the nod ahead of Arizona State's Max Intenhor because of Lemu's safer floor versus Intenhor higher ceiling. His experience on the left side would make him a logical heir to Trent Williams, who signed a 2-year extension this week when he is ready to retire. Now, offensive line for the San Francisco 49ers was decimated last season and dilapidated. So, 49ers, let's see if they have a good season, and let's see if they could pretty much keep Brock Purdy upright all season. Now, the Houston Rockets list of needs are offensive tackle, inside offensive lineman, defensive lineman, running back, tight end, and linebacker. First round projection for the Houston Texans is Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State. McDonald can develop into how head coach DeMeco Ryans envisions the structure of his defense in 2016, playing more light boxes. This way, the Texans can keep a too high safety shell to protect against explosive plays in the passing game. Houston had the fifth fewest snaps with light boxes against the run in 2025, as it preferred neutral or loaded boxes according to Next Gen Stats. Houston, they need defense. They hang their head on defense. This is pretty much a match made in heaven. The next, the next team that I'm going to cover, and I'm pretty much going to, I only have three more teams to focus on, and that will be the end of the first round of the preview of the NFL draft. Kansas City Chiefs, let's look at their list of needs. Kansas City Chiefs, 29 draft pick number 29 via Los Angeles Rams. The list of needs for the Kansas City Chiefs are cornerback, offensive tackle, safety, defensive lineman, running back, edge rusher, wide receiver, and tight end. Now, the projections for the Kansas City Chiefs with this pick is Peter Woods, defensive tackle, Clemson. The ideal scenario for the Chiefs is that one of the top receivers is still available. Since that is not the case, adding another defensive lineman would be wise. The Chiefs need depth behind Chris Jones and Omar Norman Lott. Woods is an intriguing prospect who should be more than capable of contributing in a rotational role. Now, the Chiefs, we all know that the Chiefs are going to be back in the playoffs this season. I mean, everybody. If you haven't placed your bets yet on the Chiefs, place it for the Chiefs to make the playoffs, because they are. They are going to make the playoffs no matter what. For the Miami Dolphins list of needs are wide receiver, cornerback, safety, tight end, inside, offensive lineman, edge rusher, defensive lineman, and linebacker. And the projection for Miami is they got this pick. They got the pick number 30 via the Denver Broncos. Now, projection is Keldrick Falk, edge rusher, Auburn. With the most wide receivers off the board, the former Auburn Tiger is the pick here. Falk is a high character player who should be able to defend the run and right away, considering his strength and size, 6'6", 270 pounds. He is still developing as a pass rusher, but he could form an exciting tandem with Chop Robinson on the edge. For Miami to be above average, or I'm not even going to say above average, just for Miami to be decent, they need to make this pick no matter what. They may see somebody that they like. in the first round, but I don't think the Miami Dolphins are going to trade up. And the last team that is on, the last two teams that are on the list, you have the two teams that were in the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots, and the Seattle Seahawks. Now, for the New England Patriots, let's see their list of needs. List of needs for the New England Patriots is inside, offensive lineman, offensive tackle, tight end, edge rusher, linebacker, defensive lineman, and cornerback. For the Patriots, Blake Miller, offensive tackle, Clemson. This is the best case scenario in terms of value matchup with the need. Will Campbell, number 4 pick in 2025, returns the starting left tackle, and 35-year-old Morgan Moses is back at the starting right tackle. The 6'6", 317-pound Miller could fill an immediate void as the swing tackle while developing as Moses' potential future replacement. Miller started 54 games at Clemson, and scouts view him as a durable and having a pro mindset. New England Patriots, they just pick they pick prospects that are classy. They pick prospects that have little to no infractions. They do. So, New England Patriots, I could see the Patriots picking this guy up in the blink of an eye. So, for the last team that is on this list, the Seattle Seahawks list of needs, what do the defending champions need? That's what we all want to know. Cornerback, they need an inside offensive lineman. They need a running back, edge rusher, defensive lineman, safety, and a linebacker. The Seattle Seahawks, Chris Johnson, this is the projection, Chris Johnson, cornerback, San Diego State, with a league low for selections. The Seattle Seahawks probably will look to trade back. But in this scenario, they go with a replacement for Reek Woolen by taking Johnson. Jadarian Price was also a consideration given Kenneth Walker III's departure. But Seattle's off season has been defined by disciplined decisions. GM John Snyder sticking to his board to take Johnson would be another. And Seattle Seahawks, they really don't do much trading up. But all in all, I just think that the Seattle Seahawks, as far as a running back, they shouldn't have let Kenneth Walker go. But hey, we all know in the world of business and in the world of the NFL, you got to do some things that you don't want to do. But more than likely, I believe that Kenneth Walker, he wanted a bigger contract. He got a bigger contract with the Kansas City Chiefs, and it seemed like the Seattle Seahawks wasn't going to pay him. Hey, so in the world of business, you go where the money's at. You go where the money's at, but all in all, this is the NFL draft. First round of the NFL draft. It starts tonight at 8 o'clock. Please watch it because your favorite player may go in the first round. Everybody's favorite player may go in the first round no matter what. And with that, those are my draft projections and draft preview for the NFL draft. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my merchandise. Here is my brand new logo for our merchandise. Here is my media feed so that you can see all of my different segments and clips. We also had some clips from yesterday's show. Y'all go look at them, not just on Millions, but they are all over our social media platforms. And remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is on time. The NFL draft kicks off tonight at 8. You do not want to miss the draft because lives are going to be changed and legacies are going to be created tonight. So remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is always on time.